Welcome back. And so to the rematch between Ludovic Proto and Gary Jacobs. And this rematch was ordered by the European Boxing Union after Proto won a highly controversial 12-round decision last time out. In fact, the French paper L'Equipe called Proto's victory a miracle. Jacobs, well established and well known now, 38 fights, 33 wins, 18 KOs, a tough, dependable southpaw pressure boxer who on his day is exceptionally talented. Proto, similarly a southpaw, 27 fights, 27 wins, 18 via the knockout. It's the European welterweight title, and Ian Darke was at ringside for this one.
Welcome to the Winter Circus in Paris. The venue has changed from the last fight 4 months ago, and Gary Jacobs hopes that the result changes too, and preferably the judges as well. The referee, Mr. Van der Wiel from Holland, who will score. And last time, real controversy over the decision given to Ludovic Proto here. In fact, L'Equipe, the much respected French sports newspaper, called the decision in favour of the Frenchman a miracle, and I do tend to agree with them. So Gary Jacobs looking here to set matters straight. Both southpaws leading with the right hand. Proto, the taller man with the height and reach advantages, but he was a big disappointment in the first fight where Jacobs pressured him all the way. And you can bet your bottom dollar if the fight had been in Glasgow and not in France, Jacobs would have won, no question about it. So they meet here for the second time in 4 months. Gary Jacobs, for my money, has certainly got a bit of a second wind in his career, having fallen into a bad spell around 1989, 1990, after his defeat by the excellent James Buddy McGirt. Seems to be back on track. But this a big and important night for him. Jacobs with that reach disadvantage as a problem for him. Has to get inside that long, rangy style of the Frenchman. But he's managing to do that okay in this first round, pumping away with his southpaw jab. Again, good work there from Jacobs, getting in and out with the jab and escaping the counter. Usually when there are rematches in boxing, you get the same result, only more emphatically, which is why a lot of pretty good judges think that Proto just might get the job done this time, especially with a world title fight possibly looming for him. Jacobs, needless to say, has other ideas. Good first round for him here. He's been busy, and he's been landing pretty well with that right hand. Gary Jacobs very firmly in the Mickey Duff camp. Last few seconds of the first round here, and not a bad one at all for the Scotsman. Switching the attack from head to body as well there for Proto, and giving him a bit to think about. Good, tough, resilient throw, Jacobs.
Accompagné avec l'acteur qui fait le grand, monsieur Jean Carmé.
Respire bien.
Aussi vite que lui avec le bras droit, d'accord aussi.
Deuxième reprise.
Welcome back to the Winter Circus in Paris. Ludovic Proto, the European welterweight champion in the white trunks here, defending against Scotland's Gary Jacobs in this rematch. Jacobs, I thought, did enough to take the first round. Proto unbeaten in his career so far, 28 straight wins, though he was very unimpressive last time out against Brian Brown in Luxembourg last month. Could be like a lot of fighters, he only really gets motivated and fired up for the big ones. And this fight certainly falls into that category for both of them here. Left hook in there from Jacobs. He's using much the same tactics as he used the first time. Staying busy, keeping the pressure on Proto, never letting him get set. Oh, good punch. Got him with the right hand. And a count for Proto in the second round. He was up at about 3. Has to take the mandatory count of 8. And Jacobs will be much lifted by that, and he's really starting to unload here. Proto in some bother in the second round. Jacobs is looking very, very sharp, and his punch economy is good too here. He's not wasting many. There's a bit of blood around there as well from one of the eyes of Proto. He was cut in that last fight against Brian Brown. Looks like the left eye. We'll maybe get a closer view of that between the rounds. I tell you, he's some little warrior, this Gary Jacobs. Proto now looks hesitant. Right uppercut inside from Jacobs looked a good punch too, didn't it? And again. And the left hook is a real nice variety about an increasingly confident Gary Jacobs. Big round for the man from Glasgow. Now Proto's got some real problems in there. He's cut, he's been down in this round. And I just wonder whether Jacobs might have broken his fighting heart in that round. And they've got some work to do. Well, where is that cut? It looks around the bridge of the nose towards the right eye as well. There's the knockdown. Sharp little right hand. Proto just left himself a bit open there, and Jacobs was quick to exploit the opportunity. Well, the cut is over the right eye. That looks a bad one, doesn't it? The blood is running into the eye. As you can see, it's obscuring the vision. He's been dabbing away at it with the glove as Ludovic Proto. So big problems for him. Third round here. Jacobs in the black trunks and right on top. And at this moment, he must be fancying his chances of becoming the European welterweight champion here. He's formerly Commonwealth and WBC international champion, and won the British title as well against Robert Wright last year. Proto trying to keep things at range. Trying to keep Jacobs away from him. And again, you look at him dabbing away at that blood by the right eye. British fighters have had a depressingly long sequence of failure fighting away from home in Europe. And you really can never trust the judges to give you a fair crack of the whip when you're away from home. Jacobs would like to get this done inside the distance if he could. That's a good left hand though from Proto. Halfway through this third round. Proto's one of those fighters who's been given a big build-up in France, unbeaten record, and he's been hyped up a bit, but quite honestly, it's a bit of a padded record that he possesses, and Jacobs is easily the toughest test he's faced. little warning for Proto, and indeed for Jacobs, just about watching the use of the heads there, and that of course is a special factor where there are cuts around like this. Jacobs looks so strong, and somehow that defeat he had against Buddy McGirt doesn't look half so bad now. Managed to go the full distance with a man who went on to become a world champion. It was a mistake to take that fight, no question about it. And Jacobs goes back to his corner after a round that wasn't as impressive as the second, but he still was working away well, and Proto has still got that problem with the eye. There's a right hand from him. I'm not sure whether that actually found the target. Jacobs was using some quite good defensive skills here to evade some of the weapons that were heading in his direction. Proto's handled by the Akaris brothers, who seem to have a monopoly on most of the big fighters in France. Proto is in fact from the French West Indian island of Guadeloupe, which also produced world champion Gilbert Delay, who we saw recently on Sky Sports. Jacobs with a Jewish background and very much from Glasgow. Wanted to be a footballer, but found he was rather more effective as a professional boxer. I think several of the Celtic players are among his biggest fans. Sneak little left from Proto, who really is, at this kind of height, a bit like a Spider-Man, isn't he? Very, very tall for the weight. Crowd lifted by the right hand, which studded into Jacobs' head. That was one of Proto's better punches. Proto guilty there of just holding Jacobs behind the head and pulling him onto the punches. Referee's seen that. Proto just getting through with one or two more in this round. There's a decent left from him as well. Jacobs can come through this one. Mickey Duff, I know, is anxious to pitch him into a shot at one of the world titles, hopefully on home territory in Glasgow. A lot of rough, tough inside work going on in there in the moment. But all the time, Jacobs staying very, very busy. European Boxing Union were so concerned about the first decision in favour of Proto in the original fight that they ordered an inquiry, and that resulted in this rematch. Don't know what's become of the Spanish judge who saw it by 5 rounds to Proto. Hopefully we won't be seeing him at ringside again for a while.
Panique pas. Ne panique pas. Fais la même reprise sur les jambes en retrait, il comprend plus rien à partir de maintenant.
7th round in Paris for Gary Jacobs in the black trunks, bidding to become European welterweight champion away from home. Unmarked around the face, in stark contrast to Proto with his right eye damage. One thing you can bet on is that Jacobs is not the kind of fighter to run out of gas. He's been the 12-round distance 5 times before. He's strong, well-conditioned, durable. Looks to be more meat about his punches as well, really. Got him with some good ones already in this round. Proto giving that little half smile. Is caught to body as well there. And Proto not doing very much here. And Proto having to take some pretty good punches to head and body from Jacobs at the start of this 7th round. This is typical Gary Jacobs' work, just looking to erode his man away. Two jabs to the head, left hook to the body, left uppercut. Nice variety from the Scotsman. Scottish boxing as well, going through a bit of a boom time at the moment. Scenes caught fire up there again.
Come on, keep it clean. Oh, come on.
Left uppercut from Jacobs, twice running. This is Jacobs' best round since the 2nd. Those are hurtful-looking body punches that he's sinking into to Proto's midriff. It's often the way with these tall fighters, lanky fighters, that they are a wee bit susceptible to body attacks. Jacobs has to get in range to land the body shots, but he hasn't found an awful lot of problem doing that, simply because Proto, quite honestly, just hasn't been busy enough and hasn't kept him away enough. That was an excellent round for Gary Jacobs, it really was. And he looks to be on top here in a pretty big way. Well, Ludovic Proto had the benefit of some pretty generous judging last time at home. I wonder if he's thinking in the back of his head, well, if I can get through the 12 rounds, I just might get this again. But by any calculations, or any sane ones anyway, Jacobs has a very handy lead here as we go into the 8th round. And if he can pick this up, he can say that he's been a British champion, a Commonwealth champion, a WBC international champion, and then a European champion, and how he'd love to become a world champion as well. On recent evidence, he wouldn't be out of place in a world title challenge for one of the titles anyway. Still with work to do in Paris. Recent history teaches us to take nothing for granted in these kind of circumstances. That's a good right hook from Jacobs. Proto has never managed to quell or subdue the fighting spirit of Jacobs. The little man has just kept working away all the time. The body shots are becoming increasingly effective too. Well, Proto coming back with a couple of blows of his own, and he must be thinking, and his corner must be thinking, that somehow if he can up it a gear, he just might be able to claw his way back to make this close enough. But Jacobs at the moment is looking good. inspired, no doubt, Jacobs by that sense of injustice from what happened the first time. The blood from Proto's eyes is just coming over and smearing onto Jacobs' face, unless he's picked up some little nick that I can't see. Another right, and Proto covering up and looked a bit bewildered then, and Jacobs is going for the finish here in the 8th round. Only 15 seconds to go in the round. And Jacobs here with some very hairy artillery indeed. The referee's taking a close look. Is he going to step in here? He's giving Proto as much time as possible. The Frenchman isn't firing back though. And the bell did not come a moment too soon for Ludovic Proto there, because I think another 5 or 10 seconds of that and the referee would have had to stop it. And he looks a sorry state. Jacobs is really in the box seat here in Paris. That was a marvellous burst from the Scotsman, and he did everything here except finish it in this 8th round. He was reeling here, was Proto. Well, unless something very, very dramatic is about to unfold here, Ludovic Proto could be heading for his first defeat. And Jacobs has got him with the right hand. Oh, yes. And he looks now dispirited. That's it. It's all over. Proto showed no signs at all of wanting to continue, and that had to be the right decision from the referee. And Gary Jacobs doesn't need the judges. He is the European welterweight champion. And justice, you feel, is done after what I and several other observers felt was a robbery the first time round. Great mutual respect between the two fighters. Proto has been beaten for the first time, and this, quite honestly, is a magnificent performance from Gary Jacobs, who, if he gets a world title shot, fully deserves it. A man who's paid his dues, who's come through a tough period in his career and has fought his way back, had the injustice of losing first time away from home. This time, absolutely no doubt about it at all. He stops Ludovic Proto in the 9th round, and Gary Jacobs, deservedly, is the European welterweight champion. Superb night for him, and big things, I'm sure, with Mickey Duff's help, lie ahead for him.
Sure there will be, second time around, but great performance.
It was very good. He looked very sharp. You could tell he was on a mission. You knew he had that confidence that he knew he'd won the last fight, because you just never give him a chance. He was on him all the time. It was a good performance. Great
body punches too. I mean, Johnny Armour, if he'd have done a little bit more of that and stepped on the other guy earlier tonight, maybe you would have seen an earlier stoppage like that.
That's right. That was a good thing about Jacobs. When he got his man hurt, you know, he put the pressure on. He really looked convinced. Where Armour didn't. He just didn't seem quite sure about stepping on, and he didn't do it quick enough. But, you know, that's experience, and Jacobs has got experience.
Exactly, that's the key word, that is experience. I mean, Armour will get it.
Sure.
Gary's been there and back again.
That's right.
And let's hope he can get there again. You see him going for a world title soon?
I would love to think he could, because, I mean, it's a great story that he's coming back from, you know, from everything went wrong, and he's back again. He's right up there.
Great. Good to see.